Welcome to Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. Brought to you by Contractors Connect, this show dives into real-world issues facing today's builders on and off the job site.
Whether you're swinging a hammer, running a crew, or scaling a business, we've got the insights, stories, and expert tips to help you level up in the building industry.
I'm Sarah White.
And I'm Erin Bacher. And together, we'll be talking shop with industry leaders, tradespeople, and innovators who are shaping the future of construction.
Let's get to work. This is Trade Talk. Welcome back to Trade Talk, the podcast where we deep dive into the world of construction. From the job site to the boardroom, we've got you covered. I'm your host, Sarah White.
And I'm Erin Bacher.
And today, we are taking a look back at our event with Builders First Source, who is a great partner of ours. And we did a signature event with them recently for the grand opening of their truss plant in Defuniak Springs. And so let's take a look at that.
Listen, we've had a great time, and we're excited to do more signature events for you and anybody else that's interested.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we thought, we've done events before, we've done grand openings, but never to this scale. And we've been doing Contractor Connect meetups with you guys, and we were just like, the way that they can get this industry in a room, we've got to have that at our truss plant.
It's good
so
energy.
It's been awesome. And we were talking about this earlier, the truss tours, you're finding, builders who we wanted here, but they're taking the tour and they're thinking, oh, I want my framer here. Like, I should have brought this guy, I should have brought this guy. So it's just, the world's our oyster with it.
We've already heard a lot of that.
Yeah.
Mark Lackey was like, this is just the beginning.
We're ready for the next one.
Yeah. So who knows what's next?
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you as our presenting sponsor at all of our meetup events and now our first signature event client. We appreciate it. Yes.
Right. So these signature events are kind of the next iteration of Contractors Connect, where we will partner with your business to bring the same laid-back vibe and atmosphere that we have at our meetups to their location to do a special event especially for them.
So we can be the planning arm and or the marketing arm of your event that would be co-branded with Contractors Connect.
Right. So that was really fun, but let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Let's do. Today we have an incredible guest who started his career as an attorney and then made the leap, which was a natural leap because of his family's background, to construction. And he does custom homes and commercial projects.
Right. So we have Drew Lord from DL3 Construction, and he started doing insurance law and then did construction law and realized that that was not his passion. But today we've asked him to join us to talk about the common pitfalls that contractors face on the job site as far as the law goes, and he's going to give us some tips.
All right. Let's talk to Drew.
All right.
Want to grow your network and your business? Join Contractors Connect, the go-to networking group for professionals in the building industry. For just $400 a year, members get 4 complimentary meetup tickets per year, a featured spot in our online directory, visibility at every Contractors Connect event, and more. Whether you're a contractor, vendor, or service pro, there's a place for you here. Join today at contractors-connect.com/memberships, and let's build something great together. Now back to the show.
All right. We're so excited to welcome you here, Drew. Tell us a little bit about your company. What is DL3?
DL3 is a general contractor, or I guess general contracting company. We do residential, small commercial, so basically general contracting in Okaloosa County, Walton County, that area.
Okay. So what does DL3 actually mean? What's the story?
It's short for Drew Lord III Construction. My name's Levin Drew Lord III. My granddad started Lord & Son Construction here in, I think it was the 70s. So it's been here a while.
Yeah. Lord & Sons is definitely a big company that everybody knows about around here.
Yeah.
And so now you've started your own thing?
Started my own thing, yep. Been in business now for about 3 years. And so, learning as we go, but it's been a good experience so far.
Right. So, but you're not here today as a contractor. You're here today as an attorney.
Bringing me back to my former life,
yes.
huh?
Yeah, so tell us about what your story is, how you made that transition.
Well, it's a long and winding story. I'll try to keep it brief. When I went to college, I actually majored in sports management. I wanted to be like a
That
general
was such
manager.
a popular program in our generation, I think.
Yeah, it was, and
Like
I love
marine biologist.
I love sports. But as I got deeper into my studies and kind of started interning, and when I'm selling like promotional ticket packages to the college basketball games is when I started realizing that maybe there wasn't going to be a great career for me.
You were not going to be Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, it's just a really small field.
Yeah.
Certainly don't want to tell people you can't do it, but
Right.
it's a very small fraternity, and a lot of the head guys or GMs are guys that went to really prestigious schools and have really an incredible education, and connections help a lot too. So majored in that, really truly didn't know what I wanted to do. My mom's dad was a judge in the area. He encouraged me to go to law school, so I went to law school. Went to Samford University, Cumberland School of Law up in Birmingham. Beautiful place. Lived there with my wife, Lindsay, for about 3 years after. So graduated law school, clerked for a judge. Then I got into doing litigation work, civil litigation, did insurance defense. So a lot of the guys you see on commercials that are, personal injury attorneys.
The ambulance chasers.
Some people would refer to them as that, yes. I was on the other side, so I was representing the insurance companies.
Okay.
Okay.
The people that were actually being sued. So did that for about 3 years and went and worked in Pensacola for about 8 months. I was licensed in Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. So we moved to Pensacola, did that for a little while, and really just didn't really enjoy what I was doing.
Yeah.
Found myself, not really looking forward to going to work very often. And so, I was kind of faced with a tough decision on what I needed to do or what my future was.
Because you had spent a lot of time and money on this degree.
Good for you for making the leap, though.
Yeah.
That takes guts.
A lot of time, a lot of money. People kind of thought I was crazy, and maybe I still am crazy for doing it. But, I had a background in construction just from my granddad starting the business that he did, and I kind of grew up around it. And so they gave me an opportunity. I worked for them for a couple of years, and then I worked for another general contractor over in Panama City, building hotels and stuff for a couple of years.
Okay.
And I was doing that for probably between Lord and Son and the other contractor I worked for. It was a little over 5 years, and then I started my own thing, and I've been doing that for the last 3. So
Yeah. It's
Cool.
exciting.
What do you think, having the attorney background, what about that makes you a better contractor?
Or how does it help you avoid issues?
Well, it's a tough question. Really at its core, litigation, which is kind of what I worked in, and what everyone really fears is, what if I get sued? What if I
Right.
get sued? That's always everyone's fear.
Right.
The reality of that is, anyone can sue you for anything, really.
Right.
I mean, they can file a lawsuit.
Right.
Now, whether they can find an attorney that'll file it, if it's actually valid, that's kind of a separate issue. But I mean, independently, I can go and file a lawsuit against somebody for anything I want. So, I don't know how much it necessarily allows me to avoid someone doing that to me, just
Right.
because, it's sort of, you can do what you want. Now, when it comes to the merits, though, of someone being successful in a lawsuit against me, I think being an attorney, the biggest thing that it brings to the table for me is just trying to make sure I have a clear agreement with whoever it may be, whether it's an owner or a subcontractor or whatever. As a general contractor, I have a lot of contracts with subcontractors that are contracted to do different scopes of work. And, my biggest goal is to just have a clear agreement. with the people that I'm working with. And if I have that, the hope is that there will be less conflict and less need for someone to feel like they need to file a lawsuit because, everything's clearly defined in the contract.
And dotted
So
your I's.
that's the main thing. I mean, there's forms called AIA forms that are architectural. I think it's like the Architectural Institute of America, I think is the official organization, but it's basically standard form contracts that have been litigated and the law is really pretty clear on, and most general contractors use those.
And so is that something you can go online?
Excuse me.
Is that something you can go online and download, or?
You can, yes. So they have a website and you can go and you can download those forms. And, it really has everything in it.
Without having to hire an attorney.
Absolutely. You can edit the forms, you can modify them as you see fit, but they sort of give you a canned form that is well settled, legal, from a legal perspective.
That's great advice.
So that's pretty commonly used in general contracting.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a little bit more there's kind of another layer to that in that, those are more just canned forms. You still, my big focus always, I use those and I will modify those slightly. I use those with all my owner contracts that I do. Anything that I modify, get it to track in the document so that they can see what I've changed from what was originally provided. But one of the big things for me is just that detailed scope of work that I have either with the owner and or the subcontractor, and just making sure that that's clearly defined.
So would you say that's kind of the biggest mistake that contractors make, is not having a clear contract that defines the scope?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I don't want to speak to what other contractors may or may not do, but I do think that is a very, very important thing that anyone in contracting needs to understand is, while we're sitting here, before we enter into this relationship or whatever you want to call it, there's a clear understanding of what the expectations are on both sides, and we both sign, and then whatever happens, because sometimes when expectations aren't clear, things are muddy, things start going bad.
Yeah.
People start
good advice
interpreting.
just in business in general, not even limited to the construction industry, but probably even more so in the construction
Well, there's
industry.
a lot of money involved too, and so and it's like somebody's house or somebody's business, or there's a lot at stake.
And especially as a general contractor, your subcontractors are a reflection of your work.
100%. I'm totally reliant. Well, I mean, I'm very, very much relying on my subcontractors.
They need to do a good job.
Do you have a contract with your subcontractors?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have, on any project, I'll have, it just depends on how many subcontractors I have, but I mean, it's not uncommon to have 15 or more subcontracts, and then I have my main contract with the owner. So it's a lot of contracts, and that's one of the things that I think has helped me in construction is just, it's sort of in the name general contractor. I mean, people don't think, of that being kind of a legal type thing per se, but I mean, there are a lot of legal ramifications, and you do write a lot of contracts.
Yeah.
So,
So your degree really helped you a lot.
it helped me. It was expensive. It didn't help the bank account.
You didn't love doing it on its own, but
I think it taught me a lot. Obviously,
think so too.
it's tough for me to say what I would have been like, how I would have viewed things had I not done that. I don't really know, but I don't think it hurt. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Calling all women in construction, this is your moment to build boldly. Join us for the Built to Lead Women in Construction Summit, happening August 21st at the Emerald Grand in Destin, Florida. This one-day event brings together industry leaders for powerful keynotes, breakout sessions, and real talk about leadership, growth, and opportunity in the building world. Space is limited, so grab your ticket now at contractors-connect.com/contracther. Let's break ground together. So let's shift to risk management. What are some of the key ways that contractors, not just general contractors, but contractors in general, can try to limit liability?
Well, I mean, the biggest, easiest one, kind of the low-hanging fruit is insurance.
Okay.
You need to make sure all of your subcontractors have insurance.
Right.
Anyone that's showing up on your site needs to have insurance. You need to make sure that their insurance is valid, that you're a certificate holder listed on the insurance policy before you issue them any money,
Okay.
and before they show up on site. So, insurance is one of the biggest ones. And, a lot of it, though, is really just working with people, being understanding. It doesn't really take an attorney to kind of know that. I try to be someone that my subcontractors like to work for and work with, and owners as well. I want people to want to work with me.
Right.
So, it all kind of ties back to what I said earlier about just having a clear scope of work at the outset, but also, if I can help someone out and, I try to do that. And if something in the drawings isn't totally clear, typically that's a change order to the owner, but I run into situations sometimes where, the owner feels that it should have been included.
Right.
Or maybe it's not a big enough issue that I really want to create a stink
Pick your
about
battles.
it.
Well, yeah, you're just trying to be a reasonable person to work with and avoid litigation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, obviously anyone can sue you for anything, but my intent is to, I don't want it to get to that point. I mean, I got out of practicing law for a reason. I mean, you guys have me here today talking about it, but I
drug you in here.
Yeah, I tried to get out, and I have really gotten out. I mean, I haven't had any litigious situations yet. Certainly not to say that I won't. I haven't been doing it for very long.
Right.
So there's obviously the possibility that could occur. But, one other thing I think that is advantageous to me is typically I'm the one writing the agreement. So anything, if I were to get sued over anything, it would be from my contract. And, I have a decent knowledge of the law, I think. And so, I'm not, it's certainly not something that I want to happen, but if it were to happen, I feel like I'm well-versed enough to know maybe what my exposure may or may not be and hopefully try to get it resolved.
Well, and part of avoiding that exposure is also making sure you're filing for permits and doing, following all the county's guidelines and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any project you do, you need to make sure you get it permitted and, you get all your requisite inspections and
it seems like that process is different in different counties, even across the Emerald Coast.
Sure. Yeah, it just depends on the jurisdiction you're in. They're all fairly similar, but I mean, no two are completely identical.
Yeah.
I think it's important to try to develop a rapport with whoever the jurisdiction is, and kind of get to know what ends up happening over time as the inspectors start kind of getting to know you. And
you got to make friends.
Yeah, and everyone's really just trying to do their job and make sure things are done right. And I haven't found any of the jurisdictions to be super cumbersome. They want us to build, they want things to happen, but they also want to make sure it's done right, and they're willing to work with you.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
it's it's really just trying to work with people. I mean, I really think that's a big part of avoiding conflict, not just in construction, but in anything of life, is just like, being understanding, being fair. Being fair is a really big thing for me. I will at times be willing to, maybe make a sacrifice for someone, like a sub, like I was saying earlier, if there's something that wasn't clearly in the drawings and I can choose my battle with the owner. Maybe I have to pick it up with a subcontractor, but, at the end of the day, everyone leaves happy and, maybe I have to pay a little bit more money to get it done. But for me, it's about the next project. It's not really, I got a lot of projects I got to do before I'm done. So it's not about hitting a home run on one. It's just, making a little bit here and there and building up.
Specialty Metals is where precision fabrication meets craftsmanship. Based along the Emerald Coast, they specialize in custom metalwork for builders, roofers, HVAC pros, and contractors, offering everything from window and door trim to chimney caps and roof flashings. Known for quality, speed, and tailored solutions, Specialty Metals delivers dependable results on every project. Discover the difference at specialtymetalsnwf.com or call 850-880-6300.
What is a piece of legal advice that you think every general contractor should know from a general contractor point of view?
Have a contract.
Yeah,
Have
I mean,
a
it all
written
really
agreement.
comes back to that.
Have
And
a written agreement.
it is crazy how many people do not have that in place, and everything's just kind of handshake deals. And
Including us.
yeah, well, that's something we're talking to Drew about right now. But yeah.
Are there any new regulations or court rulings that have changed the way that you can build in our area now?
You know, I really feel construction law is fairly well settled. There's not a ton of new stuff that comes out a lot. And if there is, maybe I've just been ignoring it. But, you know, I think one of the big things that's happened in the last 5 or so years was the condo that collapsed in South Florida.
Yeah.
And now you've got all those regulations in regards to the new or not new. It's really not the new stuff. It's the old stuff. It's the stuff that's already been built.
Right.
It's got to go through a whole nother inspection process now. And there's
and even when you look at like the bridges, the bridges that have collapsed, I mean, it's for all kinds of construction, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Things are just aging.
The Baltimore one, I think, had the boat that hit it.
Yeah.
And then we had the Skanska issue that
in
happened.
Pensacola, right.
Yeah, I think somebody forgot to tie something down or something.
That
and
was
a
kind of a
hurricane
big
came through.
oops.
That was a pretty rough one, I think.
Not ideal.
Yeah, but I think the condos, at least in the construction industry, that's been of all the stuff, you know, the legislation that was passed relating to that has been pretty impactful for people that own, you know, those condos, and then for new construction stuff too.
What's changed?
Well, since that collapse, and I'm not super well versed, so I don't want to misspeak, but since that happened, the state has required any condos that are over a certain age to undergo like a structural inspection by a structural engineer. And it's got certain requirements that they have to meet. And if they find structural deficiencies, then they have to be remedied within a certain time period.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening then is they have to do an assessment with the condo, and then all the condo owners are essentially stuck footing the bill.
But that's better than dying.
It is.
Sure.
It is better than death.
It is.
No truer words have ever been spoken. That was profound, Sarah.
It is. Some may argue that the requirements are over the top, maybe a little bit too stringent, and become a real financial burden on people. But obviously, condos collapsing is not something
that's horrific.
That doesn't sound like a great vacation.
No. That's,
well, they lived there, but yeah.
Even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for builders who want to grow their business and scale their teams, that's your line of work now. What advice do you have?
Try to do as much work as you can. You know, I mean, you want to. It's a little bit of a catch-22 because obviously you want to do a good job on the work that you do get, and you want to make sure that you have the manpower to do it. But I mean, the only way to grow is to get more jobs, get bigger jobs.
Yeah.
And manage those as they come. You know, construction's kind of hard because, you know, if you grow too big too fast and you get a lot of employees and you have a great year, you know, the next year
you don't know what's going to happen.
If you only get half the amount of work you did the year before, now you have twice as many employees as you need.
Yeah.
And you have pretty significant overhead associated with paying those costs. So ultimately, though, I mean, if you want to grow and you want to scale, you got to get, you know, more jobs and bigger jobs. And, you know, you want to do a good job on the jobs that you do, develop a good reputation and hopefully get, you know, repeat clients.
Right.
And, you know, that's a big thing, especially in commercial, because sometimes you have clients that
definitely
want to do multiple
teams
things.
Do multiple things together. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well, thank you for joining us today. We loved talking to you, and hopefully our listeners learned something new.
Yeah. All right.
You were great, Jay.
Thanks for
Did a
having
great
me.
job.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Contractors, mark your calendars. Contractors Connect is headed to Escambia County on Thursday, June 5th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Calvert's in the Heights on Scenic Highway in Pensacola. Hosted by Bespoke Consulting and proudly presented by Builders First Source of the Emerald Coast, this quarterly networking event brings together contractors, subcontractors, and industry pros for an evening of real connections in a laid-back, fun atmosphere. Tickets are just $20 and sponsorships are available now at contractors-connect.com. Don't miss it. Let's build something great together. Well, that was great talking to Drew. I hope people learned something. I know we did, and we probably need to have a consultation.
100% we do. We look forward to our listeners tuning in next week to a podcast with Martin Horick from Grunt.
Yes.
He is the solution to time management and saving money in your construction business.
He is the Instacart to the construction industry.
Yes. Interesting guy.
Yeah. So, but I think we have a clip of him in our Trade Talk booth at the Builders First Source grand opening.
All right, let's watch.
Hey there, I'm Lindsay. I'm at the Builders First Source grand opening of their truss plant here in Defuniak. I've got Martin with Grunt. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're so looking forward to having you on our upcoming podcast.
I'm excited. I'm excited to do something like that. It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your business and what you guys do?
So we are with Grunt, and Grunt is essentially something between DoorDash and Uber Eats for construction deliveries on demand. We'll bring it to you in a couple of hours. Smaller items. We don't have a big trucks. It's more or less the smaller, quick hit items.
Love that. What a great concept. Cheers, and we will see you soon.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to cheers. So I think we can say goodbye.
Lunch. Yeah, I'm hungry.
And see you next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning into Trade Talk, powered by Contractors Connect, where construction pros connect, share, and grow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew.
Until next time,
Stay sharp,
stay safe,
and keep building.